All right, so the tools we're gonna need for this procedure are a 4mm Allen wrench. So I've got a socket and a T-handle, and then also a 5mm. And Phillips screwdriver, I got a stubby because one's kind of in a tight little spot, but I was able to go ahead and loosen that fastener with a longer Phillips screwdriver as well. And then a 10mm wrench. There's one bolt that requires that, and so we'll get to that later. They're basically 4 components that we're going to need to pull apart to get to the ECU. We've got this trim piece here, this glove box. This will allow us access to the top of the ECU and the bracket that's holding it in place. We're going to remove the side cowling. One thing I didn't, what I learned today was that there is a procedure in the owner's manual for removing this side cowling. And then this whole glove box can come off in one piece as well. So start at on the side or up top, your preference. But we're going to go ahead and start up top. And this trim piece is held in by one 4mm fastener and a push pin back here, along with a plastic nipple and rubber piece that plastic nipple goes into. So we'll loosen this 4mm fastener. And do keep track of your fasteners and the washers. Some of these fasteners are different lengths, so be sure you're keeping track of whatever procedure or whatever process you like to utilize. Put those back in the same place. I mentioned a push pin, so I'll probably actually need a small Allen wrench or something to push in the center of the push pin here. Can you get a video of the actual pin? And feel for the center and push that in, and then you'll be able to take the whole fastener out. Set that off to the side. And then to get the plastic nipple away from the rubber bushing, I like to reach up under here, and you can feel for the rubber piece and push down on the rubber piece. It's way up there. To get that piece pulled away. And then to remove this glove box, we're gonna have to take out some of the things I like to keep in here. On the bottom, there are 2 5mm fasteners. So we'll get those pulled out. And then at the top here and the bottom, there are some 4mm fasteners. So in total, there were 5 fasteners, 6 actually, holding this in place. And then there's this other one here, the Phillips head here that we'll remove shortly. Moving on to the bottom fastener. Or back fastener, whichever one you want to call it. And the front fastener. And we only need to remove the one screw on this metal piece. I'll be able to turn that away. And then underneath here, you'll find that there is a connector. I think it's an antenna of some sort. You'll push in this here and separate them. And then the female end of that is held in place to the left compartment here with a retaining clip you can just undo. And so now we have access to the top of the ECU, which is back here. We're going to go ahead and loosen this bolt here and then another one here. And so that's where the 10mm wrench comes into play for this one bolt. So this is the bracket that actually holds the ECU in. Again, that was a 10mm, so I didn't use a wrench because I don't know where the socket is. Kidding. And then you can see this here is the tip of a bolt. We're gonna go ahead and loosen it from the other end. And that is a 5mm. And that was actually easier to do if you have a 5mm socket. That's probably better than trying to do it with the a 5mm T-handle Allen wrench. You could use the 5mm that's in your toolkit. Once you get that loose enough, you can just use your socket to finish the job. I'll explain them in a minute why we're getting this bolt out. But I feel like it's important to go ahead and just remove it while we're up top side before we move on to the side piece. So there's a screw or a bolt and a washer that are kind of a pain in the butt, so don't lose them into your bike somewhere. If you have a magnet, that probably would work better. I just didn't grab mine before we started taking a video. And it can be, there it went. And so fortunately for me, that bolt came out and hit the floor in a place that's very conspicuous. And so now we can move on to the removing the side cowling and the lower compartment here. So the side cowling has a couple fasteners we need to remove. There's a chrome one here, these two here. So we're gonna remove this side cowling. And then on the front, you'll see, come on all the way around, you'll see these three fasteners. We'll remove the top one, and then we'll remove this one that's at the bottom, but it's towards the back a little bit. It's not this one, but this one that's further back. This one's a Phillips head, 4mm, and then the other three up on the side are 4mm. So we'll get this out. This top one. This one. That top one that I showed you earlier. Again, these are all 4mm. And then we'll switch over to the stubby Phillips to get this last one here. This one has threads that are like a wood screw, more so than an actual sheet metal screw or a machine screw. It has a different style clip that it goes into. So to me, this was the scary part. Now that all of the actual mechanical fasteners are loosened or removed, there are two plastic nipples here that go into rubber grommets. So we'll start from the back of the cowling, kind of pull, and there's that, and see how that came off with the intake vents. So now we'll move on to the side compartment assembly here. We've got these two bolts here. Those are 5mm, and we've got a couple of 4mm, one here, and then another one here. And I think there's one down here as well. Actually, I'm not so sure. Yeah, we'll need to remove that one. So we'll get started with that as soon as I can find my 4mm T-handle. So that'll be a break in the action, but we can keep rolling. And we'll start at the back. This one. This bolt has a washer, much like the one much like the one that we pulled up top, pulled out up top. This one has the biggest washer of them all. These so far are all 4mm. There's one more piece, one more here, before we switch over to our 5mm. Go in front of the camera again. This one. And these are much longer than the others. And I think this one here. I gotta get this one here. Switch back over to the 4mm. All right. So we see that the this has our auxiliary power. So I'm sure there's a wire. We're sure there's a wire behind here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this rubber grommet loose from the nipple and pull down. And here's our electrical connection. We'll just go ahead and press on the middle there and pull that part. Okay. So that whole side compartment comes off as one piece. And so we're almost there. We only have 2 more fasteners to loosen or remove. And those are, you can show from down here. Remember that the ECU is going to come down here and flip out, and we need to create some space between the metal frame of the bike here and this back wall. And to do that, we're going to loosen this bolt here. You can barely see the probably see the tip of it there, and then I think it was this one down here. So again, this is an instance where the 5mm socket head might actually work better. And loosen that with the socket. Okay, that's one of them. There is that. Oh, there is a washer with that one. There's also a washer with this one down here. And once we take this final fastener off, we will have created a really good place for the ECU to come out. So the trick to getting the ECU down, there's a little ledge at the bottom of it. So we're going to open this up as much as possible. And here are the 2 harnesses that go into the ECU. The ECU is just above this one. There's a ledge that the ECU is resting on. So we're going to pull the ECU towards us, and then from up top, we're going to push the ECU away from us and also slightly down. So I'm just gonna have to wiggle it a couple times. And through the magic of film editing, this will be out in a jiffy. What the heck is that hanging up on? What did I forget? There we go. Looks like I had to push it slightly forward. But here it comes down and towards the front in between the silver. And here we are. And then to disconnect, we'll take that fastener loose. And then this one you'll push in the middle here and lift this up. I'm just not going to do that right now. And there you have it. That's getting the ECU out so you can get it diving. Installation is the reverse of removal. You do not need to disconnect the battery for this procedure. And there you have it.